Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Etech Leadership Table. This is a podcast where we invite you to pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee, and join us as we tackle some remarkable discussions on everything leadership. I'm Melissa Wood. I'm your host. I'm the Dean of Leadership Development at Etech Global Services. Welcome to the Etech Leadership Table. I have to say, I'm excited about this leadership table. I get to meet with three of my most favorite people in the call center industry. They all three have very unique personalities. Have you ever had dinner and you're just inviting three different neighbors over and you know that, they have some things in common, but, they're all very unique? Have you guys ever had dinner like that where you've invited all sorts of strange people over? I'm not saying you're strange. I'm just saying I've invited a team over. So for all of our tons of podcast listeners out there, I want you guys to meet David, Guru, and Michael together. These gentlemen have 65 years of call center experience. That is pretty phenomenal. And our focus today at the table, so if you got a cup of coffee or a snack or anything, our focus is going to be retention. But before we get started on retention, I need to know what you brought to the table to drink. That's what I need to know.
Coffee.
What did you bring?
Coffee. Coffee.
How do you like your coffee, David?
Black
Nothing.
coffee.
No sugar. No sugar.
No sugar. Just black, strong coffee.
Okay. Now, do you go by and get your coffee before you come sit at the table, or do you just make it at the house?
I make it at the house.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Guru, what did you bring to the table?
I've had my cup of coffee in the morning, and after that is just water throughout the day then.
Okay. So is it one
In
cup
my
here, or
in my Etech cup.
I see you. So, Guru, like in your coffee, I kind of like to know that way next time we come sit at the table together, how you guys like your coffee. So, Guru, when you drink your coffee in the morning, is it just seriously one cup and then you're done?
That's right. Just one big cup of coffee, and I don't drink the entire the way like black coffee. I add a little bit of a milk. That's it.
That's it. No sugar. Nothing like that. No. Okay.
Now I have to clarify. If I go to Starbucks, that's a whole different cup of coffee because that's a treat. That's a treat, right? So I get a very long, fascinating array of coffee there. So
can you?
And at home, it's simple.
Simple black coffee. When you go to Starbucks, are you that person in line that's reading it off a sheet of paper?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. I don't know if you guys caught this. I saw Michael Amazon. He might have caught it a little bit. Guru said a large cup. Like, I'm thinking a mega pint. That's what I'm thinking. Like a mega pint of coffee is what
A mega pint.
That's what I'm thinking. All right, Michael Amazon, welcome to the table. What do you have to drink at the table?
I had some peppermint tea with a little bit of honey.
Look at that. Very good. Very good, Michael Amazon.
I've changed up. I've been drinking coffee in the morning for many, many months. And last couple of weeks, I've changed up to a little bit of tea and a little bit of honey.
Very good.
I don't know why, but I wanted to change it up a little bit.
It's not now. Is your tea caffeinated? The peppermint tea?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So basically, since Guru's had his coffee down, David's got his coffee down, I'm drinking a V8 Energy today. So watch out. Y'all better be on. I knew I was going to be on my game with you guys, but since Michael's on his stretch of no caffeine, you guys might have to push him a little bit at the table. Well, welcome to the table. Like I said before, our topic is about retention. And, this is a really popular topic out in the industry today. I see a lot of organizations, really just a vast variety of organizations, not simply just call centers, but, retention is just a hot topic in a good way and sometimes in a bad way. So I just want to we just have a few questions I want to ask you guys as everyone's listening on the podcast, and everybody else, grab your coffee, pull up. You're going to want to hear what these gentlemen have to say when it comes to retention. So, DC, I'd like to start with you if that's okay.
Sure.
And why are so many contact centers fighting to retain their talented workforce?
Yeah, I would tell you the most common answers that you hear all the time is pay. But I'm going to disagree with that. That's a piece of it. But I would tell you probably the biggest thing that I often see is lack of employee engagement. You're losing people because they're just not engaged in what's going on around them. We're not engaging with them and interacting with them in a way that makes them feel part of the whole big picture of what we're trying to accomplish. I mean, let's be honest, contact center work, if it's chat or phones, whatever, it's monotonous. It's a very monotonous thing. And, you know, these folks are sitting there for 7-8 hours a day. If they're a 10-hour 4-day shift. So it's very monotonous. And so it's just, and it goes beyond the simple part of engagement saying, hey, let's put some balloons up, you know, let's ring a bell and let's have some gamification going on. Those are all really cool visual things, but that's not engagement. When I talk about engagement, I'm talking specifically about things like development. Do we have things that allow them the opportunity to learn how to be better at their job? Do we offer them training and classes and different things? Do we have different type of I guess, committees that we're asking them to be a part of so they can be part of some of the solutions? That's what I talk about when I'm talking about employee engagement. And the more that you can get them invested in the grand scheme of things, the vision, the culture through that engagement, I think that's how you retain people.
I really like the way, you know, a lot of our listeners and some of us have sat at the table have made the mistake of engagement, like balloons and recognizing. And like you said, all those things are very important, but you're really deep diving down into that engagement. And when you think about the new generations in the workforce and all the generations in the workforce, the development and an opportunity to be involved is key. So if you're listening, I hope you're taking notes, because there's 2 answers right there. When DC comes on board, he comes on board with the answers and some tactical skills. So I really like that. I know, DC, that you and your team spearheaded an opportunity for, you know, I work in the leadership area at Etech, and then you and your team came to me with a challenge. And, you know, we just learned recently in our development that we are solutions waiting on a problem, right? As leaders, we're a solution waiting on a problem. And you came with a potential problem, and we opened up what Etech calls the learning pantry. And it's basically available 24/7, leader, non-leader, basically all 3,400 of our employees, where they can get real-time development at their fingertips. And then hopefully this thing will grow, and maybe they can start seeing some pictures of themselves participating in communities and kind of feel more involved in community. So it's very new. It's kind of like building a house and you just start stocking your pantry. But I'm hoping that will help in some of the engagement. All right, so you see Michael over there. I'm not sure if he's taking notes, but he's paying attention at the table pretty hard. Hey, Michael, in the face of growing attention, or, you know, retention and attrition, you know, I know you guys really flipped it several years ago. A lot of people talk about how many people we're losing, and then you guys came in and said, hey, we're gonna focus on the people that are staying, right? And that's why we call it retention. So for those of my podcast at the table, and they're like, are they talking about retention or attrition? Both, but we're focusing on the people that we have here. But in the face of this growing, you know, trying to improve retention, what has Etech been able to do to improve the agent experience, the customer experience, and just maximizing that total experience in CX?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big things that we did last year that has been super impactful, and we've seen a lot of great things come out of it, has been the stay surveys. So essentially what we're doing is we're talking in the centers, we're talking to the agents and the leaders about, hey, you know, what are reasons that you stay with Etech? What would be reasons that you would want to leave Etech and go somewhere else? You know, what are some things that, you know, can Etech improve upon? And that can be anything, whether it's the program that you're on, the center itself, just an array of questions that really, you know, why are you here? What would make you want to stay longer? You know, what are things that you don't like? And all that information's collected, and it's sent back. It was sent back to all the center directors. And essentially what we did is then, I you know, for example, in Nacogdoches, I met with all the the center leaders and said, hey, here's the feedback that we got. Here's all the positive things that are going on in the center. You guys are doing a great job. You're, whether it's your coaching or your engagement, but here's some opportunities, right? They want to see more leadership on the floor. They want to see more things, contests done in the centers. And a lot of that, kind of like what DC mentioned about with COVID, as more agents started trickling into the centers, things are definitely different. And even in the position I was in, where I was like, man, it's kind of quiet here. There's not a lot of engagement. What can we do? And getting that feedback directly, like what do they want to see, has been super impactful. And for us to not only take that feedback, but then also making sure that once we kind of went through it, here's our opportunities, here are the challenges, here's what we're going to do. Probably the biggest piece to that is then making sure that we have all those actions are deliverables, and we're able to go back to the agents and leaders and say, hey, we heard you loud and clear. This is what you guys want to see in the centers, on your programs, with your leadership team. And what we did very clear, for example, in Nacogdoches was, we got together again with the leaders and agents. We kind of set the major areas of opportunities that we had. We gave them timelines. Here's when we're going to be able to do this. For an example, they wanted to see more, not just frontline leadership, but more senior leadership, operations leaders, account leaders, spending more time on the floor. So we've created schedules, and we made sure that, hey, starting next week, you're going to see a lot more leadership on the floor, a lot more questions, diving into your coaching sessions. And they really, really appreciated that. And that's been, like I said, hugely impactful, because we're getting the feedback directly from the agents themselves and the leaders of what we can do better, or like, hey, if another company did this, I might want to leave. Well, we can also do that. Just give us the opportunity to be able to put that in place. And then we've really seen a lot of positive feedback. I know we started our second rounds this month, actually, and we got a lot of great feedback from the previous rounds that we did of, you guys have really put a lot of things in place with, more on the floor support, more things being done in the centers in terms of like contests, and then also kind of like employee appreciation things that we try to do on a monthly basis, just to, whether it's a couple weeks ago we did, it was National Pizza Day, so we brought pizzas in for all the agents, things like that. But it really creates, a really positive environment. And going back to what DC said earlier about engagement, that's really the one thing that we got out of those stay surveys was, we wanted to see more. And it was tough because, you had half of your agents at home, you had half of your agents in the center, and it was, what do we do to try to get everyone together? And, again, getting that feedback from those agents and those leaders, and being able to put a lot of that in place, really, it's definitely, I can say, for Nacogdoches, it's definitely a different center than it was last year in terms of the engagement and the camaraderie, and just trying to do more things together as a group. And I know we have a lot more lined up this year to get, even more of that engagement together, which is definitely going to be, helping us in the right direction.
Yeah, I think, man, those stay surveys, again, if you're listening, take notes. That's powerful. That's some powerful stuff. I think more families should do that, like marriages. Well, I think we're onto something. We should do some stay surveys. We'll do that in another podcast. We'll do stay surveys.
That's a different one.
That's a whole different one. So just kind of spinning off that. So, and you guys are right. You're onto something here. DC's talking about, when it comes to retention, he really kind of focused on the engagement piece. You back that up with some facts in your stay survey, and then I hear we're doing the other round, so we'll be able to hear anything new. I do have a follow-up question to you, Michael, because I know that your leaders have a hybrid workforce. We're trying to move some people back in the office, definitely around the globe. That's in India, Jamaica, and the U.S. And for you podcasters that don't know that, Etech is global. We have a global hybrid workforce. But what do you do, Michael, to stay engaged? Because DC said something earlier. I took notes. He said, we have to be engaged individually, and then leaders have to engage, those that they work with, right? So what do you do, Michael, to stay engaged? Give me your top thing. And then give me your top thing that you do as a leader to keep your leaders engaged.
Good question. So one of the main things that I do, and it's something that I try to get my frontline leaders to do as well, is just making sure they, it might seem kind of silly, but carving out times, like looking at my calendar saying, okay, on these days, I'm going to take, 30, 40, an hour, whatever, to ensure that I'm on the floor, I'm spending time with the agents, I'm talking with them. Same thing with the leaders. I do the same thing with the leaders, making sure I carve out, some times during the week where I can just talk to the leaders, see how they're doing, see what's going on. What I also do on a quarterly basis is kind of have fireside chats with the agents, and just get them, it's a very relaxed environment. We just kind of go back in the break room. I'll get some drinks and some cookies, and we'll just sit back there. Not necessarily, there's not really a set agenda where I'm just, just want to see how they're doing, and things come up with work, that's fine. I don't want to keep it all work related, but just how they're doing in general. What could I help them, with, whether it's at work. I mean, mainly trying to focus on work, but if there's things, in general with life that they might have questions. The same thing, and I do the same thing with the leaders, where it's, very, again, same thing. We just very relaxing atmosphere. Just kind of ask them, what's going on, how can I help them, and kind of give them some updates too about, what's happening specifically in the center. Because again, I think that's key in that communication and keeping them engaged, is not just having all these meetings, but then also making sure that, like you said, you're taking notes. Like I'm taking notes during these conversations. I hear, this is what I hear that you guys want. Let me follow up with you next week, and I'll let you know the progress. And because that's also very key to make sure that it's not just, hey, we're having meetings to have meetings, but we're going to take all this feedback and we're going to do something with it, which that goes even a longer way than than all the different meetings and the engagement. So, and then I encourage my leaders to do the same thing, where they're not, we're at work all the, we're at work all the time with the agents, but also just spending a little time with them where it's not just talking about your performance, you're talking about whatever KPI, just again, a lot of positive reinforcement and how things are going in life, and again, they trying to carve those out, but that's something that I encourage them to do, that they've really started doing on a regular basis now, which has been super helpful, I think, in building that engagement, like DC said, and then also just again building that team building up.
You did a beautiful job just describing heart and mind leadership. I mean, you used DC's favorite word, which is intentional. Guru's the same way, about having a process. And then you kept the human side. I think that everybody sitting at the table can see that human side and then that mind side. What our listeners don't know, or those that are sitting at the table with us, you are in Nacogdoches, Texas, which is known to be the oldest town in Texas, if you didn't know that, sitting at the table. And in the state of Texas, we used to, I don't know if we still do or not, we used to have this gentleman go around, and he was called Texas Country Reporter. You guys remember Texas Country Reporter? You don't know about this. I know, Michael, you're transplanted into Nacogdoches, but take notes. You're about to learn something. David knows about Texas Country Reporter. Guru, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Texas Country Reporter, but he goes around the entire state, and it's a TV series where he will highlight some of the most unique places in the state of Texas, right? Some unique people, some unique artists, those types of things. Michael, your office should be on Texas Country Reporter. It is a unique, for those, if you have not been to the Etech Nacogdoches office, so if you're a potential client out there, or you just want to stop by and see these amazing leaders in action, and if Texas Country Reporter listen to this podcast, I encourage him to do so. You'll need to see Michael's office because it's pretty impressive. I don't know if you can scan around just briefly and just show like just a brief. I see some things on your wall, but yeah, you can see some things. It's pretty. I see some strange beings there, but it's pretty impressive on Texas Country Reporter. And you know what that does? The reason I bring that up is because when he talks about engaging and he talked about being intentional with your heart and your mind, just that showing who he is as a person, as the senior leader in that facility, That really helps, with the communication, and it helps with people feeling comfortable with their leader. Definitely. And that's everything Michael was saying. Guru, you've been quiet, and I know you're not quiet. So everybody at the table thinks, that one visitor you have at the table, and they've got something to add. So when we talk about predictions, we predict who's going to win a game. We predict who's going to win an election. We predict what's going to happen. And I know this may throw you for a curve just a little bit, but I want to ask Guru, because I think you're our guru. What are your predictions for call centers in 2023?
Well, regarding predictions, we always think about something is going to change or something needs to be done in a different way. And that's what we predict. Now, I agree to that. But before going to that complete predictions of contact center for 2023, let me talk about that. Yes, this is going to happen, but that is the past. The past should not change, and that is the prediction, or that is the future of contact centers. And what that is that I'm going to take a brief summary of what Michael Elmazan said is exactly the future of the contact centers. Please do not forget the basic concepts or the root of a contact center. And Michael very well explained is the agent leadership, agent engagement programs regarding feedback, coaching, positive feedback, ideas, suggestions, keeping something positive on the floor, engagement with contests, development. So all those things, and thanks Michael for explaining it in a wonderful way to all, is that is the future. If you forget the past, then that's not going to be a good future. So that does not need to be changed. Now, what needs to be changed and what is a different kind of approach for the contact centers? Yes, and I need to start off with what DC, and for those who don't know, David Carrizales, we call him DC. He did talk about the development of the team members. Gone are those days, people coming, doing their job, because as he said, I wouldn't say boring, but it's the same job, doing it every day in and out. They're looking for a change. They want to be developed. They want it to be trusted. They want to be developed in a trusted manner. That's what my next point is about prediction, is that if you want to retain your agents, if you want to retain your workforce, you need to develop them, you need to prepare them for the future. You need to have the tools, you need to have the leadership, you need to have the training to make sure that all that is set as a one big platform going in the future. Talking a little bit about our quality department, which we call it Etech Insights. We already have an Etech quality platform, which we call it QEval, which nowadays gives everything. Earlier, I remember 10-15 years back, where we were supposed to have one coach coaching 3 ACTs, which we call an agent coaching tool, where one would be a sales call, or one would be a non-sales call, and the other one would be a quality-based call. The agent would have to go through these 3 calls with this supervisor coaching him or her on the opportunities and suggestions and the feedback. Well, those days are gone now. Obviously, the agents are asking the data, the reliability of the data, and how good is that data true. Our Etech Insights or a QEval platform goes through almost with the intelligence of the human intelligence, HI plus AI, the artificial intelligence, gives you almost analysis feedback for almost every call. You want to break it, slice it in the way you want, where you want to listen specifically about non-sales calls, where a certain parameter needs to be introduced in that call. You can create reports. You can give feedback to the agent about a trend, not just of the 5 calls yesterday, the weekly, the monthly, that particular time frame of that entire call, you can give the feedback, and that's where the trust develops within the agent, where he or she now accepts the feedback that this is, which we call now a true intelligent report or intelligent feedback. And that's what DC was earlier talking about. They want to be developed in a trusted and a reliable manner, because that's the future. That is the prediction of 2023 of the contact center. Agent would rely on data which is actionable, which is trusted with not just one call, but almost entire trend analysis of whatever way the feedback you want to, and with suggestions on a click of a screen on your monitor while you're doing your regular job. You get the entire feedback of what's supposed to be your way of handling the calls and your ideas and suggestions, the way you need to handle it, which gives results back to them. And that's where the agents now, with the help of that data, they're improvising themselves to give the feedback about the future analysis and ideas and suggestions. And that's what our customers, or what we call the partners or vendors, are looking for from Etech. They want proactive solutions. They want proactive creativity, analysis and suggestions from Etech as a partner. And that's where it comes from. So that's what I predict is the behavior of starting from the agent's behavior right up to providing feedback called business intelligence.
I love the way you said we have to look at the past, or in order to look at our future. I think that's brilliant. And then when I think about how our AI team, they come in and help us with coaching, both Michael and DC and you, we're using that globally, that intelligence. And someone asked me the other day, they're like, I don't understand this. I don't understand this artificial intelligence, and I don't understand. Explain to me, like, y'all are listening to every call, and so here's the best way for those that are at the table. And I don't think I've even explained it to these gentlemen this way, but we're about to approach baseball season here in the U.S., right? It's a big deal, and a lot of these really talented baseball players, somewhere in their career, they had a batting coach. You guys, I don't know, maybe you played baseball. Did any of you? I don't know that about you. Did any of you 3 play baseball?
I did.
Okay, all right.
I played baseball for many years until I got hit too many. I got hit by. The last year I played, I got hit 3 times by a pitch, and then I told my mom I'm done with baseball.
Then you started playing tennis, I think, right?
I was already playing, but I'm like, I'm just sticking to tennis. That's it.
But even in tennis or baseball, I mean, in baseball, you have a batting coach where you'll pay a batting coach, and they'll come in for a set period of time. They'll watch you bat, right? And so that's the way the old school call centers used to work, right? We would listen to just a few of your calls for a short segment of time. But now it's like having a batting coach every time you swing. Every single time you swing, in the game, off the game, you have a batting coach that is constantly monitoring your swing and can tell the leader exactly what to do. It takes the guesswork out of it, what adjustments you need to make to hit a home run. And that's pretty much what we have here. And with the right engagements, with the artificial intelligence that we have going on, those will make, some outstanding contact center team members, which will improve our total customer experience. I love how you guys take notes. These are leaders within Etech. They are growing and developing themselves. Even though there's 65 years of experience with the 3 of them, they're taking notes and feeding off of each other and listening, right? So I want to give you guys something to take away today so that your time, you can learn a little something new. Patrick Lencioni, he's one of my favorite authors of all time, so I have to give him a plug out there. Hey, Pat. So I was reading a book, and this book just caught my eye, but it says 3 signs of a miserable job. 3 signs of a miserable job. Well, obviously, not that I'm not trying to read everything Pat wrote. I'm just immediately going in here to see what the 3 signs are, right? So I'm going to tell you, and all of you have talked about these 3 signs. All of you and everything, the questions that we've asked. So let me say this. He said the 3 signs are, number 1, I'm anonymous. Nobody talks to me. Nobody engages me. You know, I'm just here, right? Nobody knows me. I'm not highlighted in any way. So that's 1. And I think for those podcasters that have listened, you've heard Michael, Guru, and DC both talk about that engagement piece. So that anonymous. The second side of a miserable job is irrelevance. What am I even doing here? Does it even matter? Right? You know, and DC talked about community involvement. And then, you know, you heard Michael step in and he talked about just having a chat, you know, in the back room, just knowing the person, right? And then Guru tying all that together and saying this past knowledge will help us in the future. That's as a call center and in relationships. All right, the third sign of a miserable job. So the number 1, if I'm anonymous, no one's talking to me, no one's engaged. Number 2, why am I even here? Irrelevance in the job. And the third is immeasurement. No scoreboard. Am I even doing this right? And that's exactly what everything Guru tied this up with is saying, we can show you how you're doing on a more grand level and help you to be better at your job. So those are the 3 signs that I took away from Pat of a miserable job. And that should link us all back to retention. So well done, gentlemen. Is there anything else you want to add before we close out this podcast today? And you guys go refill your cup with tea, water, and more black coffee?
No, I would just like to, because I want to piggyback for just 1 second here on what Guru was saying, because, you know, I just had the opportunity to visit our team in Mobay, near shore, and did a lot of fireside chats, focus groups. And one of the biggest things that they talked about was incentives. That, you know, Etech brings a lot of incentives to the table. And when they talk incentives, they're talking commission. So let's, you know, make sure everything is there. That's the full package. Am I getting the rewards and recognition? Am I getting compensation? Am I getting all these different things? And I can tell you what's unique in kind of what Guru said, what's happening in the BPO industry right now is it is growing. And I can tell you over the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of companies migrate to BPOs for several reasons. And it's a very, very competitive market, out there. So you got to have a differentiator. And that differentiator really is saying, hey, listen, I'm going to not only give you this awesome, wonderful incentive package, this commission plan, but I'm also going to focus on showing you how to get that commission plan. And that's where we talk about the artificial intelligence, the human intelligence, our QEval platform, EI, and because what's also going to shift, and we're working hard right now today, specifically at Etech, is that all of the BPO industry is more and more and more going to become a culture of data. It's going to be a culture of data. How do you take that data? How do you utilize it to drive performance? How do you take that data, put it back into your training team, because you're seeing here's where your team is not performing, so you can have people ready when they first come out of training. And then how do you take that same data and then migrate it all the way to your recruiting, so they know the type of agent that's going to be successful in whatever role that you put them in. And as Guru said, back in the day, first line coach, we were doing 3 ACTs. We were trying to figure it out. But what's also changed is over the past few years, and it's going to keep changing, is a lot of the contact center world was front office. And when I talk about front office, I'm talking customer service, sales, tech support. That was kind of the foundation of what we were as an industry. But now you're getting a lot of back office type stuff. And that is like admin functions, IT technical support. You're talking marketing, data entry. And because companies are migrating over to that kind of stuff, saying, hey, that's not something that we want to cover. We don't want that overhead here. So we're going to send it to a BPO. And as technology gets better, as security gets better, then they feel a lot more comfortable saying, I'm going to allow that to happen. But what's the return on that if there's 400 centers within a 200-mile radius? What is the differentiator that says I'm going to venture into the BPO industry? And we currently have a couple of brand new clients that we're doing work for that have never used a BPO ever. They have never used a BPO ever. Yes, that is a telling thing. So as they walk into us and allow us the opportunity to be there first, I guess, and say, is this something I want to do? Did we do the right thing? That data is going to be all important for us to be able to take their business and enhance it. What are they going to get out of it? They don't want somebody to just do the work. They want somebody to be able to do the work better. And that's where that EI, that Q-eval, that data-centric culture is going to come from. That's what's going to differentiate you. So that's the future of the BPO industry over the next, now, it's happening now, but I tell you, over the next 5 years, if you're not migrating over to a culture-centric of data, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. So.
Yeah, it's like going to a doctor and says, "Here's what I think's happening. I'm not going to look at your blood work, but here's what I think's happening."
I think this is happening. I think this is happening. That's correct.
Yeah, you can see Michael set up, Guru sets up, David we're passionate about this. That's why we're sitting at this table together. That's why the three, it's 65 years experience. There's some basic things of heart and mind, but there's some passion of the future and having a vision and knowing what we need. And that's why I wanted this team to sit together at the table. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll have to have a part 2 and spin off of what David's saying so that we can talk about this passion and how we use it and how you guys are really equipping. Maybe that's our next podcast, equipping your leaders to use this intelligence to heal some broken conversations, right? And so do I call you all 3 doctors now? Is that what I'm going to have to do?
No.
Well, I appreciate you taking time to sit at the table. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. You're welcome at the table anytime. And until next time, and you guys keep growing. And thank you for not being mockers, but being models as leaders. I appreciate you. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.